In the pouring rain they came. Some estimates say 90,000 strong. The organisers say the numbers were closer to 300,000. A human flood across Sydney's iconic Harbour Bridge that certain powerful interests never wanted you to see. This wasn't just another protest. This was the largest demonstration for Palestinian human rights in Australian history. A tidal wave of humanity that mainstream media either downplayed, ignored, or worse, deliberately mischaracterized.
And it is being used for division in this utterly Orwellian-named March for Humanity.
Have you noticed something interesting? Any politician who sought to stop this protest or media source that deliberately mischaracterized it all have one thing in common. It's not hard to spot the connection once you look.
It was appalling to see the hateful scenes on the steps of the Sydney Opera House, and this campaign of anti-Semitism will fail. The message needs to be loud and clear that if you attempt this kind of menace, the police will track you down, they'll throw the book at you, and most crucially, if the laws don't allow for proper prosecution, then we must change the laws.
New South Wales Premier Chris Minns fought desperately to block this protest from happening.
In a radio interview yesterday, Chris Minns said he was against the rally being held on the bridge at all.
Well, look, I wouldn't do it for any circumstances.
We cannot allow Sydney to descend into chaos, he claimed, with theatrical concern. Interesting how our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese had no problem marching across the same bridge for World Pride, marching for gay rights in 2023. Apparently, according to him, some human rights causes are more politically convenient than others that take more courage. Let's get something straight here. This protest almost didn't happen. Just 24 hours before the march, the Supreme Court of New South Wales ruled against police attempts to prohibit it. Justice Belinda Riggs' words cut through the noise. The public interest in freedom of expression at this time, in the manner contemplated for the reasons advanced, is very high. Certain media outlets didn't want these images broadcast around the world. They didn't want you to see Australians of all backgrounds standing together against what's happening in Gaza. And why? Because after 20-odd months of bombing, after more than 60,000 deaths, after images of starving children that would break any human heart, people are finally saying enough is enough. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. As the protest reached its peak, police decided to send text messages telling people to stop and turn around. Then they sent another message contradicting the first. Then a third message. The result? Thousands of people, confused, trapped on the bridge, not knowing where to go.
As it neared its end, an abrupt about-face, police monitoring the march from its operational room, deciding to turn the crowd around and send it back into the city.
Are we going to have to turn around and march back?
But then confusion when people tried to finish at North Sydney. Nine reporter James Wilson was in the crowd.
Well, it's 3 p.m. and police have just sent out a mass emergency text message that says that this march needs to stop due to public safety. Many people actually jumping the barrier and choosing to use this pedestrian slipstream instead.
Police were forced to issue a third message asking protesters to remain calm and follow police directions.
It said they were worried about public safety, but then they just told us to stand there with people going backwards and forwards. So, yeah, it was a bit confusing.
1 minute they're claiming crowd crush concerns, the next they're potentially creating the very condition for a crowd crush. Look, I'm just asking questions here. Meanwhile, former Premier and Foreign Minister Bob Carr joined the march, saying the key message out of a walk on the Harbour Bridge that will be picked up in the world's media is this: the nationalists in Israel have got to let food and medicine through to a population that is being killed off.
Politicians past and present from all sides joined the march.
If you were the Foreign Minister right now,
What would your attitude be to this two-state?
I'd be immediately recognising Palestine as Canada and the UK and France have done, being used by people to make a point against the deliberate murder of a civilian population, including babies and kids. And we're outraged by it. Ordinary Australians were outraged by it, and some of them have been gallant enough to come out in the worst imaginable weather to show that they won't accept what Netanyahu is doing.
But certain media outlets would rather focus on the inconvenience to Sunday drivers than the tragedy of mass starvation. Priorities? And watch how they frame it. Sky News and others tried to paint this as a hate march.
March for Humanity. That's what they're calling it, a March for Humanity, which suggests to me the implication is if you don't support them, well, then you're against humanity. Maybe you're not even human yourself. And we all know how that works when it comes to these sorts of anti-Semitic demonstrations. I think it's all terrible that this has gone through, and been approved by an activist judge who has decided to overrule the advice of the police and the Minns Labour government.
They desperately searched for anything controversial while ignoring the 100,000 plus peaceful protesters. What's particularly striking is who was there. Julian Assange, recently freed, made one of his first public appearances. Jewish Australians carried signs saying, "Not in our name." Doctors who had worked in Gaza described the horrors they'd witnessed firsthand.
Let's do it. Let's bring in these hospitals. Let's save these children and let's stop the bloodshed.
Once jailed freedom fighter Julian Assange, politicians past and present from all sides joined the march.
This wasn't some fringe gathering of extremists. These were ordinary Aussies, grandmothers, students, workers, braving the rain to stand for something bigger than themselves. And yet, if you watched mainstream coverage, you'd think the bigger story was that some people had to take a different route home. Heaven forbid your Sunday brunch was delayed by people concerned about mass starvation of children and innocent civilians. The truth is, this protest represents a fundamental shift in Australian public opinion. People are so outraged, not just by what Israel is doing in Gaza, but also by the Australian government's complicity. What we witnessed on Sunday wasn't just a protest. It was a moment when ordinary people reclaimed a symbol of Australia, the Harbour Bridge, to send a message that couldn't be ignored. The establishment tried to stop it. The media tried to spin it, but the 100,000 odd people showed up anyway, in the pouring rain, to say that some things matter more than convenience, that humanity matters more than politics. The tide is turning, and no amount of media spin can stop a wave once it starts to build. If this video disappears, you'll know why. Make sure you follow for more truth they don't want you to hear.